Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of To The Max Outdoors. On today's video, we're going to do something a little different here than we normally do on the channel. In front of you here, you see a 1997 Kawasaki Bayou 300 four-wheel drive. I've owned this four-wheeler since she was born. I've handed this four-wheeler down to Max some years ago, and this four-wheeler right here has been 100% the best piece of equipment that I've ever owned. Oil change, spark plugs, air filter, tires, brakes. That's the only thing I've ever done to this thing. Yeah, it's got some leaks on it, it's got some quirks, it's hard to start. Carburetor's been cleaned multiple times, but it just so happened Juddy from J True Outdoor Adventures posted on Instagram a couple days ago. He changed the starter out on his, and I'll be damned if I didn't come out here. Now watch, my key's on, I hit the starter button. The only thing's going on is the solenoid clicking. Now, youth antlerless season is coming up here in a couple days. This is Max's primary four-wheeler. We don't ride doubles on the four-wheeler anymore. He's too big for that. So, luckily enough, I was able to pick up a starter, and I have one in hand here. But we're going to go through a quick little diagnosis here of how I determined it was a starter motor, and we'll do a short change on it. There again, this is not a how-to video, but I think it brings a good point there that, yeah, I know the title name is To The Max Outdoors, but we do a lot of our stuff ourselves. You know, it wouldn't bother me to tear this engine all the way down to the internals of it and build it back together. It's well worth it, and I'm more capable and confident in myself, and I will teach Max to do everything. Unfortunately, Max is in school right now, so he can't do this little starter swap with me, but I do teach him, and I think it's important that we as parents or adults teach younger ones to do things like that. So all in all, I know this is a way different style of video that I normally put out on my channel, but hunting season's going pretty slow for me, and I don't get into doing a bunch of hunting until late October, early November. It's raining and wind's blowing outside really heavy. I'll turn the camera around here. As you can see out there outside, the leaves had just started changing, and we had our first big rain and wind event of the year. So it's taking a lot of the leaves down, and that's kicking me in to get into the hunting a little more here. So again, I'm sorry for putting this kind of video up, you know, during hunting season. I know that's what a channel's kind of going after, but hey, this is stuff I do, and it's stuff I think everybody should know how to do. So stay tuned here. We'll do a tad bit of diagnosis work and show you how I come up to the starter. Here we are checking the battery. I got the camera in the best spot I can get it, but I'm directly to the post of the battery, and the key switch is on. So that battery, well shoot, I slipped off of it. That battery right there has 12.28 volts. That is more than capable of starting this machine, and that is the first place that we'll check right there. So we know that our battery is not the issue. So, and we know that our battery terminals are not corroded. We'll try to take a look here right quick. Grab my little flashlight out. When you look down there, our positive is good, our negative is good. We're not corroded. Check, there's a little fuse right here. It's kind of like your little master fuse. I've already been in here. These things are kind of difficult to open. There we go, he's open. That old filament, shoot. Well, I don't know if you can see it or not. I can. The whole filament inside that fuse is good. I'll have to close that thing up off camera, but that's what we want to check there. The battery's good, our connections are good, and our fuse is good there. So we'll move on to the starter solenoid. Now, what I got going on right here, as you can see, towards the middle right hand, that's the solenoid, or the middle right hand of the screen there, that's the starter solenoid up there. Starter relay solenoid. I have the start switch up there taped down. Like, I'm not going to be able to show you the multimeter, but I'm getting 11.7 volts through that. So my solenoid's working, and I need to get up there before I burn the thing up because I do have the thing taped down. But that solenoid right there, that's something else you need to check at. Check your connections in here on your starter solenoid connections. Make sure there's no corrosion in here. And as you can see here, I took mine off. I'll try to get the camera up in here a little bit closer. As you can see there, I took my lead connection leads off and cleaned them all up, and I just put fingernail polish on them to try to keep some corrosion out of them. Pull the shoot, I'm blocking the light. Pull the connection off right there. Cleaned it all out. Used some CFC and all that stuff. It's all good and cleaned out. So there we go. Now we know the battery's good. We know the solenoid's pretty good. As you can see it there, just pull that out of there. Check for corrosion cracks. You know, sometimes those freeze and bust, or heat, thermal expansion on them, but just check that kind of stuff there. So now we're going to move up to the starter. That's the starter. There's the power wire. All I did was stuck the positive end of my multimeter in there. I come down, found a good chassis ground bolt. Boom, got 12.1 volts there. So I know I'm getting power to the starter. It's just not going through the starter. So that leads me to believe the starter's bad. And if you can see there, I've already taken a couple of the case bolts out for the starter, because I wanted to make sure the starter wasn't locked up. So it wasn't. That's also another good tip. Take that starter out, make sure that the grounds and the bendix and everything inside of them are good. Make sure they're not all corroded up or starred up. Like I said, this thing does set for a little bit. This four-wheeler does set for, from time to time. It'll set for a month or so at a time. But as you can see there, it's a good clean four-wheeler. I don't know how well you can see the sight glass there. I don't know why all four-wheelers don't have sight glasses on them like that anymore. As you can see there, got a high level and a low level, and we're right at the high mark. But dang, it's so simple of a four-wheeler, so easy to work on. I wish they all were made like that. But okay, so as you can see there, we have the old starter removed. It fought us a little bit. It wasn't too hard, but there again, this is a 1997 model four-wheeler, and it's never had a starter on it. That's the original starter that's on this bike. So, you know, kudos to Kawasaki for using a quality product. It's got a name on it of Mitsuba, M-I-T-S-U-B-A. I couldn't find that brand of starter. I'm sure it's Japanese by the name, but unfortunately I had to put a Chinese starter on it, which that's really all I could find, whether it be Amazon or my local Cali dealer. That's all I could find. But anyways, this style starter, and there again, this is not a how-to video at all. I'm just telling you what I run into here. This style starter has a nose piece on it here, and this sprocket actually goes through the left side of the case, and it has a chain that attaches onto the starter to the crankshaft. That's what makes this move, and it's also tied into the pull start clutch system over there too. But this side here, as you can see, my index finger right there, it's O-ring, so it is torqued into the middle half of the left side case, if that makes sense to you, with 2 bolts. Now there is 2 case bolts that hold the nose and the back side of this starter together, and I didn't take them out. I used it like it was assembled. So what I'm trying to say is when I took this starter out, I took the old case off. Well, this is where the motor is, the electric motor part of the starter. I took the 2 long case bolts out, these 2 long case bolts. Well, let's just do a little show and tell because it's easier for me. So these 2 case bolts right here is what held that together. So I took these 2 case bolts out, these 2 guys, took the motor off of it, and that left me to be able to inspect the nose piece of it. And what I done was I put the four-wheeler in gear and I rocked it back and forth so that the gear right here would spin. And I don't know if it'll come out on camera or not, but that bearing inside the nose of this is not up to my standards. It's gritty. Like when I spin it, I can feels like there's sand in it. That bearing's probably pitted in there. Now, this side of the O-ring is wet. That's on the lubricated side of the case, but it's just sling. It just gets oil slung on it. It's not a pressurized lubrication. It just gets slung to it. So there again, 1997 to 2022. I'm sure it's not got appropriate oil on it in its whole life to last, but by God, it lasted this long, and I'm very happy with it. So what I done was I took and drove this nose piece out of the left side of the case, bloop, and I just like that, and I changed it out. Now what that does is that leaves you a sprocket on the left side over there with a chain attached to it that you have to take a hook scribe to, pick that sprocket back up and feed your new nose piece into it, lining the splines up. You can see there, that thing's splined. It's a tad bit difficult. You just gotta jam your face down in there. I couldn't get the camera at a good angle to do it, and the lighting wasn't appropriate. So I'm telling you, it can be done because I just did it. You just gotta jam your whole self inside there and do it. But that you know, that brings up a pretty decent point. Here's the two factory bolts that I pulled out of it, and I don't know if you can see on them or not, but they have I got to assume that is a type of anti-seize. So there's my type of anti-seize right there. That's how I buy it. I buy it in little packs like that. Guys, you don't need a 5-gallon bucket of anti-seize. I'm telling you, a little bit of this stuff goes 7 miles. It goes a long, long way. I'm pretty familiar with anti-seize. I use anti-seize every day in my normal job. Listen, anti-seize and grease are not the same. Grease is meant for bearings and bushings. Anti-seize is meant for fasteners. Don't skip this process. This is a steel bolt that's going in an aluminum casing. These two bolts are what helps hold that starter and the O-ring into the left side of that case. That's what keeps everything supported over there. The end of this starter with this sprocket on it is not supported on the other side of this case. There's a chain that hangs around here, so it's pretty important that these two bolts right here get torque proper. My book, the book that I have, the Chilton manual that I have, says 35 inch-pounds. Well, I'm going to actually torque it to 35 inch-pounds. I have a Harbor Freight torque wrench that I feel pretty confident in, and I'm going to use it. But it just brings up a point there. Make sure you put your anti-seize back on parts that are dissimilar metal. It'll help you out in the long run, because I do not expect this Wuhan starter to last as long as the Japanese one that's on it. That's just how it is, and that's my little tip for doing this job. Oh, and we'll bring you back. I'll light this thing off the first time. Everybody will get to see it at that time. All right, so there you go. We're looking in here. You can see the starter. I'm trying to get the best camera angle possible. You can see the case bolts on the starter, and the red post on top there, that's the power wire. That's got an environmental sealant on it there. Again, that's just basically like red fingernail polish in layman's terms. But corrosion prevention on electrical wires is a big part of mine. I do work on things that tend to live their life at 40,000 feet and carry people around. So corrosion prevention is kind of a big deal to me. But we'll go down here. We'll try to look at the bottom side of the starter. There's your two bolts. The middle left of the screen there, that's your two bolts that mount that thing, and that's, like I said, that drives the nose piece. That drives that nose piece over there into the left side of the case. So we'll get the light here, and you can see my hand. There you go. There's my hand. I'm holding the exhaust pipe. We have not been started yet, so we're going to put the camera up here. Turn the key on. As you can see right there, we are in neutral, and here we go. Now I will tell you, this girl is cold-natured, so give me time, but as long as that starter works, I'm happy. Oh, she lit right off. That's why I like the old girl. That's why I keep her around. Holy cow, that was pretty neat right there. See the kind of satisfaction you get out of doing stuff for yourself? Let's do it one more time. Neutral light, you can see it on. Starter button. Boom, we lit right off. Let's go down here. Take a look at everything. I don't see any oil spewing out over there where our O-ring is. We look pretty clean. Let's go down and look down here at the bottom. That's the oil filter cover, Matt. Pick it up there. There we go. No weird noises anywhere. Oh, that's great right there. And I'm happy. Couldn't be more happy with it. Saved myself a ton of money, because if you pay the Cowie shop to do that, you're probably looking at $95 to $100 an hour, and who knows when you can get in, and who knows who's going to work on it. Like I said, I'm confident enough to do this stuff. It was a bigger job. You know, I say it's a bigger job. It's not a car starter style. You just don't bolt that thing in and go. This is kind of a unique starter. It's just how Kawasaki designed it. It runs a chain off of the crankcase and the pull start assembly up to the starter drive sprocket. And this is kind of a two-piece starter. Like I said, I changed both pieces out because my nose piece on the driver, I didn't like the bearings in it. There again, that is not supported out there. It doesn't set in any kind of recess. It just holds that chain and holds that sprocket over there. And you got two bolts that are 12 inches away holding all the torque. So yeah, those bearings finally run themselves out. Like I said, they've been in there since 1997. I've never changed them. But, you know, this little kind of stuff here, I enjoy doing it. I tend to buy a lot of older stuff, and I tend to work on it a lot. So I'm just testing the waters, doing this little video here. If you guys enjoy that kind of content, you know, I'll start throwing some stuff in here. I feel it's really important for me as a parent and me as an adult to teach and preach this stuff to Max. I think that everybody should be able to tend to their things and fend for themselves when it comes to, you know, simple stuff like this or simple repairs. Man, learn how to do it. It'll save you time or a ton of money and a ton of frustration, and you'll be able to diagnose your stuff. Like I said, just a short recap. Juddy from True Outdoors, he just happened to post on Instagram a couple days ago that he changed the starter out on his little Kawasaki. I come out here, I knew that Max and I were getting ready to use this unit here. You know, it's doe season coming up, and I know that he was wanting to ride it. I come out here and I hit it, and there you can see in the videos, this click, 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 and then clickety clack was all it was doing. So we went through, we made sure the battery was good, we made sure the starter solenoid relay was good. We was getting power to the starter, the starter wasn't operating. I picked one up for 80 odd bucks, and we changed it out. Pretty simple, self-gratifying, self-satisfaction, I guess you could call it. So there again, if you guys enjoy this kind of stuff, let me know down in the comment section. I'll put some more of these videos up randomly, as I do buy older stuff a lot. I kind of have a bad habit of bringing stuff home with me that somebody else was done fooling with. So anyways, thanks for your time and thanks for your view, and stay tuned for another episode of To the Max Outdoors.